Section 6, post-exercise refueling. This is where we're going to celebrate our victory. Okay, so maybe a little overboard here, but you get the idea. What are you going to do post-exercise? And I think that really depends on what your goals are. Are you going to do a really hard session the next day? Then you may want to avoid this. If you are not doing a hard session, then the recovery process is not as important. But when you look at recovery, here's what you're going to hear. You're going to focus on the carbohydrates and the proteins. No question about it. Carbohydrates going to restore muscle and liver glycogen. Protein is going to provide, and get that, jumpstart that repair process post-exercise. Whether you're an endurance athlete or whether you're a strength and power athlete, just going to the gym. Honestly, if you're just lifting and you're just you're working with a general fitness like Jane or Joe fitness, recovery process is not that important, to be quite honest. You just need to go back and after your workout, eat something healthy, eat a healthy snack or a healthy meal, and not really just go overboard. I think sometimes we go too overboard on, I got to get this sports recovery drink in 30 minutes before exercise. Well, if you're not really training hard the next day, it's not going to be as important. So just realize that. If we look at the general recommendations, that's what you're going to see. The recommendations are to consume 1 to 1.5 grams of carbohydrate within 30 minutes. And then at 2-hour intervals up to about 6. So you're just eating, the point of this is instead of just consuming and throwing down a huge meal after your workout, then they're recommending eating smaller amounts of carbohydrates more frequently in the hours after the activity, and getting them in, within that first 30 minutes to an hour can be helpful if you're going to really. So there's, like I said, there's 2 times when you really want to really focus on recovery. One is if you've got a really hard session the next day. Yes, focus on recovery. Or for some athletes, they do 2-a-days, right? Where you train in the morning and then you train in the afternoon. Then that's another time when you really want to stay on your recovery and make sure you're getting in, this carbohydrate protein ratio. You're making sure that you're getting in your adequate fluids to rehydrate prior to your next session. Even if it's a couple hours out, then even if you could say, I guess 24 hours or less out, hey, you better jump on it pretty quick. And with that, you're also going to look at some protein intake, 25 grams, within those first couple hours also. You may have heard of the 4-to-1 or 3-to-1 ratio of carbohydrate to protein. That's where this comes in. Post-exercise is where you can eat these higher glycemic index foods. You can have this simple sugar post-exercise because your body really wants to rebuild. You may have heard of that metabolic window, and there's some research out there that maybe says, well, it's not as important as what we would like to believe, but the idea is that there is an enzyme that is more active during those first 30 minutes to an hour or so after activity, and so getting that fuel back in is important. This is where chocolate milk got its big boost. Now you're seeing it promoted everywhere as a recovery beverage, right? Low-fat chocolate milk, and you'll see that here in this big blow-up, and you see it here with me, fat-free chocolate milk here and some of the stuff that I'm doing. But again, the idea is because it's low-fat, because it's fat-free, that's what you're looking for. Because it requires less digestion, the glycemic index of that food is going to be, or that product's going to be higher. It's going to get into your bloodstream and get into the muscle more quickly and start that recovery process and get that glycogen back up to where you want it. And again, this is, like I said, not a new topic. If you look, this is an article from way back in 2008 looking at milk and is it the new, recovery drink? Is it the new sports drink? So this is just showing you a couple of examples post-exercise, what that might look like. Doesn't have to be anything fancy. You have all these expensive sports recovery drinks, but 16 ounces of sports drink in a power bar, 32 ounces in a banana, 2 cups of skim milk and some graham crackers, that works. Bagel with some peanut butter. Here, this peanut butter and jelly sandwich, you got the grains here with your bread slices of bread. You got your jelly, which are carbohydrates, and you got the protein, which is the peanut butter. So don't try to overthink this stuff post-exercise. And I wanted to, some of you may have heard of this study that came out within the last 6 months or so. Pretty interesting. A guy by the name of Brent Ruby out of the University of Montana, I believe, did this study looking at fast food versus your typical recovery beverages and products. And what he had this was in cyclists, and Brent Ruby was a pretty good endurance athlete himself. He had athletes bike pretty high intensity, I think, about 75% of their max for 90 minutes. And then when they finished the cycling bout, they either ate fast food or they got the sports supplement. So when they finished their workout, they either got hot cakes, as soon as they finished, they either got hot cakes, hash browns, orange juice, or they got Gatorade, Kit's organic peanut butter, and the Cliff Shot block. And then they rested for 2 hours. They were fed again, and they were either fed hamburger, Coke, and fries, or Cytomax Power Bar. I don't even know what PBCC is. And then they also had Power Bar Energy Chews. And then at the end of the 4 hours, and you can see this is in kilojoules, so don't get confused here. But the idea is the calorie level was the same pretty much, right? And what they were looking at is muscle glycogen. So they looked at their muscle glycogen to see how quickly it was resynthesized, and was there a difference in eating fast food and sports supplement. And you can look at the fat, that's pretty much the same, and the carbohydrate was pretty close, and the protein was right on. Not a whole lot of difference in the composition in these products. And when they looked at their muscle glycogen storage, there was no difference as well. So there was no difference between eating the fast food or the sports supplements for recovery. And they also added one other thing to this research project. After they tested their muscle glycogen, then they had them get back on their bike and do a short time trial. And they measured performance of these athletes. And not to anyone's surprise, there was no difference in time trial performance between individuals who had the fast food and individuals who had the sports supplement, which is pretty interesting. Now, this doesn't mean go out and eat McDonald's. But what it does say is your body's pretty smart, and it's going to use what you feed it. And if you're feeding it McDonald's, it's going to try to use that. But again, I'm not trying to say go out and have McDonald's. What I am trying to say, though, McDonald's will definitely be better than nothing. Definitely getting something in your system post-exercise is going to be better than nothing. So just an interesting study I wanted to report to you. The biggest thing is for you to work with your clients and athletes and come up with a plan. For instance, if you got a client that you're working with and they have a full-time job, they're probably going to work out early in the morning. So maybe they wake up at 5 and they have a snack before they go to their workout. Maybe they have some toast with some peanut butter and maybe yogurt. And then they go do their morning workout, and then they come back after the workout, and that's when they actually have their real breakfast. And then they go throughout the day. And again, this isn't important other than just showing you eating a healthy meals throughout the rest of the day. And I don't buy into this. And so at 9:30, they have a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. I don't buy into the fact that, you got to stop eating at 6 o'clock and, you can't eat after, 8 o'clock or something ridiculous like that. It really kind of boils down to how many calories you're consuming. If you haven't gone over those calorie needs for the day, then you should be fine to eat at, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, whatever time, you need to eat to make sure you're getting in an adequate number of calories. So that finishes up what to eat post-exercise. You do want to focus on getting in carbohydrate and protein, usually at that 4-to-1, carbohydrate to protein ratio, 3-to-1. It depends on, and we'll look at this later, depends on the intensity of the activity and the duration. These longer intensity and higher duration activities, then you can do the 3-to-1 to 4-to-1. But if it's just an average run-of-the-mill workout, you could even probably get away with 2-to-1 or 1-to-1. Not as much focus on that recovery process. the biggest, like I said, the athletes that need to focus on recovery are the ones who have workouts either the same day, within 6 hours or less, or individuals who have workouts that next day that really are going to be important. Those are the folks that need to really be focused on recovery. And there's a lot of different ways to do it. Don't try to overthink it. Your chocolate milk works. So does a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. So does a yogurt and some crackers. So we'll jump into our last section in this module coming up, looking at the high-fat approach. All right, see you there.